Senator Johnson, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business, take up and consider House Bill 2593.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. House Bill 2593 does one thing and one thing only. It subjects all form of tetrahydrocannabinols, THC as we normally know it, that is marijuana concentrates, as some people know it, the oil extracted from the leafy marijuana plant, subjects all forms of this, all levels to the same criminal penalties. This bill is not about whether we decriminalize or legalize or do anything else related to marijuana. It's simply about making equivalent levels of THC in different forms subject to equivalent penalties. Currently, possession of small quantities of leafy marijuana is subject to a Class B misdemeanor. Possession of THC in a form of concentrates, on the other hand, is a felony. A felony in any amount, even though both have the same effect, the same equivalent levels of THC. It's important to note that the users of THC in this form are overwhelmingly young people who are getting an education or just starting their careers, and because of an outdated, inconsistent policy, they're being branded as felons and denied the opportunity for jobs, housing, and education. House Bill 2593 remedies this illogical and unjust anomaly in our criminal codes by removing cannabis concentrates from its current penalty group and establishing a new penalty group that has the same punishment ladder as leafy marijuana. Simply put, this bill creates a fair and equitable penalty system for the same levels of THC. Members, I move to suspend the regular order of business on House Bill 2593.
Members, Senator Johnson moves suspension of the regular order of business on House Bill 2593. There is objection. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Buckingham, Campbell.
There being 25 ayes and 6 nays, the rule is suspended. Chair lays out on second reading House Bill 2593. Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 2593 relating to the criminal penalties for the possession of certain tetrahydrocannabinols under the Texas Controlled Substances Act.
Senator Johnson, you're recognized for a motion.
Move passage to third reading.
I thought Madam Parliamentarian was talking to me. Senator Johnson, you're recognized for a motion.
Move to pass to third reading.
Members, Senator Johnson moves passage to third reading. There is objection. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
There being 25 ayes and 6 nays, the bill is passed to third reading. Senator Johnson, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule. Senator Johnson, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
I move to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
Members, Senator Johnson moves to suspend the 3-day rule. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
There being 25 ayes, 6 nays, the rule is suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage HB 2593. The Secretary will read the caption.
HB 2593 relating to criminal penalties for the possession of certain tetrahydrocannabinols under the Texas Controlled Substances Act.
Senator Johnson, stand by. Members, the following amendment. Secretary will read the amendment.
Floor amendment number 1 by Perry.
Senator Perry on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I'm sorry for the confusion. We passed hemp in the 86th legislative cycle. We made that match federal law under USDA agricultural products where we capped 0.3% of the cannabinoid process, the THC, if you will. Over the interim, chemists figured out how to synthesize that to raise it where it's above the 0.3 THC content, thereby making it illegal in Texas, but also making it an unregulated, possibly unsafe product in the market. All this amendment does is make Delta 8, is what is commonly referred to, match what we all voted on and agreed to for hemp last session at the 0.3 federal level. So it's just bringing it in line with everything that we as a body said for the hemp industry to move forward and our agriculture community to do other things that hemp is allowed them to do. It brings it back in line with what we all agreed to last session. I do believe it is going to be acceptable to the author.
Senator Hinojosa, for what purpose?
Thank you. Will the gentleman yield for a question?
Do you yield, Senator Perry?
I do yield.
You're recognized, Senator Hinojosa.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know last session, Senator Perry, we passed your hemp bill, but I asked some questions about whether it would cause any issues and problems with law enforcement in terms of the lab capacity to test. And that became a very challenging situation, as you well know. A lot of DAs refuse to prosecute. So will this amendment cause similar problems?
No, actually, this amendment will bring it in with the existing lab and the capacity of the lab space that has been expanded. You know, if the laws, there's always catch-up, right? And especially in these areas. We have more labs available on the private sector. We have more crime lab testing, and we actually have development of portable testing where the DPS and those people can start having. And this just brings the test, which is already at that 0.3 for THC content, into line, where a Delta 8 product is currently in excess of that 0.3.
Well, I cannot get into the weeds on the...
Yeah, I hear you.
But I was concerned because I expressed my concern last session, and sure enough, it turned out that I was correct in terms of the lack of labs to be able to test hemp at that time under the legalized under the legislation that was passed by the Senate.
And they've caught up to their credit, and they're getting better. A lot of that issue was a DA kind of narrative, the message that really, honestly, we could go down that rabbit trail. But on this bill, it's putting it back to what the body agreed to and in compliance with the federal side at the 0.3.
Thank you, Senator Perry, for your explanation.
And the bill is the amendment is acceptable to the author.
Members, any objection? Any objection to the amendment? Hearing none, amendment is adopted. You are recognized, Senator Johnson.
Move final passage of House Bill 2593.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Buckingham, Campbell, Creighton, Eckhart.
Having 24 ayes, 7 nays, the bill is finally passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President and members.